Welcome to Talks with Stephen Bradley Waters. And today, got a new topic, and that is social media influencers presenting themselves as independent journalists when really there's not a lot of substance to the content, and an awful lot of people are just mirroring and copying each other. People need to be careful where they source information. I'm seeing it too much at the moment where there's like have a go heroes. People, they consider themselves independent journalists, but they all just a lot. It's just too many content creators on social media. They regurgitate content. Rarely do you come across an original thinker. You know, we all have a fault. We all have a fault for ourselves, but a lot of the content creators, they literally see someone report on something, and then they create content on their own channel, repeating exactly what was said somewhere else, like they're breaking the news. It's pathetic. You know, I see through all these content creators. I think they're a joke. I really do, because everybody's out just to. It's just money, 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 isn't it? That's all it is. There's no integrity to the content. It's literally as long as they can make some money from it, who cares? So you've got all these conspiracy theorists. Now, if I'm talking from opinion, not fact, but opinion, then I'll state that. You know, I don't report information like it's absolutely accurate. You know, I'm just all I can do is share my opinion on it. But so, for instance, you've got this situation where in the United States, Washington, I think it's Washington D.C., where there was like a Black Hawk military helicopters crashed into an airliner jet, and unfortunately, crashed. The jets crashed into. They both obviously crashed into the. I don't know if it's a lake, a sea. I don't know America that much, but you know, a lot of people perished, and it's surreal, isn't it? And then you see the footage, and you're like, well, this don't look good. America has such a history of cover-ups and ways to subvert attention away from a certain narrative that I think we all go into that skeptical thing. Like, I don't trust that government at all. So like they would do something like that, and the amount of heat that was on Trump, it's like, oh, let's give him another narrative to throw him off. It could be that, but I'm not. I haven't spoke about it because I'm not here to sort of talk on those things. You know, I wouldn't want to talk like that's fact when we don't know if it is. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of issues around that incident. You just don't. But how can you possibly know though? Like at the moment, how could you possibly report on it like anything's factual? But you get people sitting there with a little microphone. They do that one where they're talking into it. They hold it like this, and they think they're talking something radical. And it's like, mate, and you don't know yet. There's too much information that needs to come out. And the angle, for instance, the thing that annoyed me in the news, the actual mainstream media was it made it said airliner jet, whatever, crashes into military helicopter. I don't like the way they word it, and it's almost like it's done on purpose. When you watch the video and you're like, well, it seems to me the helicopter crashed into the jet. Now, you could say, you know, it's the same thing. It's not. One has hit the other, not the other way around. So they're making it sound like the jet's coming and and then it's flown into the helicopter. But it seems to me the helicopter flew into the jet. That's so that would argue that what it is it's accountability, isn't it? So which one hit the other is the one at fault, isn't it? So if the helicopter's flown into the jet, then the helicopter pilot's at fault. If it's the other way, so that does to me suggest potential cover up in the sense that they're trying to make it sound like it was an accident that the jet flew in. But obviously, if you read it as the helicopter hit the jet and it's a military helicopter, what does that say? Is it an attack on the jet? But like I say, I think the reality is American politics is very sketchy at best. And we know they'll do anything to subvert a narrative, even if it is, unfortunately, to eradicate innocent people. And that's really scary in America, isn't it? Like, it doesn't make me particularly want to travel there because I just think it's when you start thinking about it, you're like, that country is like the Wild West. There's no laws only extend to those that want to abide by them. You know, in terms of politics, so they'll hold people accountable, but then it's like a free for all for the others. Like I'm not going to go 100% into politics. I'm not. It's not like I sit there and study it. But all I know is Trump's done an awful lot of things where he's already broken laws apparently within Congress and things with some of the executive orders he's done. So I'm hearing, and yet there's some people apparently in prison and things who've done similar in the past. But because he's Trump, he gets away with it. It's like that doesn't make sense. Law should be law, shouldn't it? How can you possibly have exceptions to that law? But anyway, that's what I'm saying. So if it applies there, it just seems to be whoever it favours determines like the. And again, if you've got someone that's wealthy, for instance, and have influence, let's say their child, let's say their son has committed a crime, even murder, they get away with it because they can buy themselves out of a situation. How is that law? How is that justice? It doesn't make sense. You shouldn't be able to buy yourself out of something. There's no logic to that. But again, influence has power, doesn't it? I don't want to go anti-America because I could do this quite quickly because the problem is it's all propaganda. You get countries like Russia, North Korea, and China, and all these other ones where in the West we're told how bad they are, and on the face of it, you'd say that's true. But then if you actually look at your own countries and the way the corruption extends, it's like it's very similar. It's just the media have pointed it in a different narrative to say it's just and it's fair. Well, it's not really, is it? But but I hate the fact that people report. See, I can talk on this, and this is my opinion, but based on the information I see, this is how I analyze it, and then this is what I interpret. What I'm not saying is that I'm groundbreaking new information at the moment. This has happened, blah blah blah, and then they go into conspiracy mode, but they'll make it seem like it's literally they're reporters because that's the way they're presenting it. They're acting like they're literally an independent reporter, and it's like where are you garnering your information from though? Because if you're just taking your information off of another social media content creator, where have they got their information? You have to be able to verify things if you're going to talk as fact. So I think you have to be, as listeners, people need to be skeptical of the information they receive. It's like question everything. That's what you should do. Mainstream media, question it. Someone talks independently, question it. And start putting the pieces together yourself. But recognize where people are talking from opinion, though, and don't always just take what they say as gold. For instance, straight away, I hear what's happened, and I'm thinking, what the hell? That doesn't seem normal. So straight away, you think that's an abnormal situation, isn't it? Where a military helicopter hits a plane. So this is just me talking from opinion now. This isn't facts. I don't know the facts yet. I don't know the facts. But straight away, the skeptic in me says this is iffy. Who was on the helicopter? And then who's on the flight? Because the American government, if there's a specific person on a flight, they'll take that flight out, won't they? If it's someone of interest, of course they will. And then it means was the helicopter piloted by someone, or is there a way of automating it, or if the person ejected themselves at the right time? It's dark, it's at night. And this is the thing with America: cover up, cover up. Would there, if it is a cover up, doing it during the day, you'd see someone eject, wouldn't you? If it's at night time, maybe someone can get away with it, and you wouldn't know they got out. I don't know. That's the skeptic in me, And again, the fact that it's at night, I think, makes it a bit more iffy. And like I say, it's the fact that it just raised raised eyebrows immediately with me was when it was reported in the news the jet hit the helicopter, because I just thought that's a very interesting way of subverting a narrative towards it either being a jet, like an accident, as they want to portray it, or it's the jet's fault. There was no culpability, but by wording it that way, there was sort of no culpability to the helicopter, which by all accounts apparently was flying without lights on or something. I'm not sure. But I thought in the image it was two lights. One was lower, one was smaller than one was bigger, and the smaller one flew in. It was going across and just straight into the bloody airplane. I'm thinking that I've never been in a helicopter, and I don't trust the damn thing, because I don't think they're right. If a propeller goes, you've got no control of it, whereas a plane can glide. So I don't understand the point of a helicopter. I think they're dangerous as hell. But one would assume if you're in a helicopter, surely if an airliner is landing. I would. I mean, look, I don't know. A helicopter, I'm guessing, is loud anyway. But surely the noise and vibration from an airliner jet flying towards you would be freaking immense. I would assume, because people could be standing outside and you'd hear that shit. Now, I know they've got ear defenders on, or whether they've got a headset on, but I don't know how much. I mean, if there's other people on the helicopter, they must know the difference in sound between what it's normally like and when a jet is right next to it. One would assume. But this isn't me trying to go in conspiracy mode. I could go on a whole tangent with this shit. It's more pointing out the fact there's a lot of content creators who it's not even just about this situation. I'm seeing it a lot. Anything, whether it's this Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and um, Baldoni, this situation where there's been accusations of abuse and all sorts of things, and then abuse of power. And it's nice it gets. Look, I appreciate people bringing information to light so we get to hear the story, but explain why you're telling the story and how you come to that narrative. Don't report everything as fact all the time, though, because that's where I get fed up. If someone comes on and says, I've analysed this information, this is what I've discovered so far, and this is my interpretation of the fact, um, and then you're listening and you can sort of go, okay, I understand, but don't sit in front of a camera and then say, this is exactly what's happened. This is this, this is this, this is, if that's not 100%, we all have opinions. Who's innocent and who's at fault? I'm not here to say, oh, this person's an arsehole. I don't know them. All like when it first started, again, I can share opinion because it's based on opinion here, isn't it? This is not me talking facts. Facts will come out in the end, won't they? Based on opinion, when it first happened, I knew nothing of this Baldoni guy. And having watched The Last of Us, because I went with my mum, I'm normally watch action films or something else, but I just thought, you know what? You ain't got anyone to go with to the cinema. She was coming cinema with me because we was doing something for the day, and I said, why don't we go cinema? And I thought, what would you want to watch? And I never even heard of the book. So we just went to watch the film. I had no idea what it's about. I just thought it's maybe something she would like. I'll go. I don't mind. I don't mind these sort of films anyway. So having watched the film, his character was very narcissistic and abusive. Unfortunately, that can create an image of the person that's portraying it, the actor. Because it didn't come across well in that. He acted bloody good, but in it, you naturally have an assumption of the person a little bit when there's an issue in real life. That's where that stemmed. So, I'm honest. When the situation come out with Ryan Reynolds being this clean cut guy, he's got a lot of businesses and things. You think he's a nice guy. Blake Lively sometimes gets the bad press, but I'm sometimes thinking, is it over exaggerated? Because you could say something and it's on camera, but you might have been sarcastic. It might have been a specific cut. You got to analyze things. So I thought maybe she's not as bad as people say. It could be other people have agendas because you got to be open minded. You can't just keep just pointing someone and go, they're a bad person just because their world says they're bad. It's like, let's open our mind a bit. So I'm open minded. When it happened, I'm naturally thinking maybe the Baldoni guy is bad, because I wouldn't have thought like Ryan Reynolds. To be honest, Ryan Reynolds being this clean cut guy, at least the image he presents, I can't see him being with a horrible person. It doesn't make sense. Why would he want to be with like if someone's narcissistic and that? Why would he be in a relationship with someone like that? That's how my mind was operating. So I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt that side. Of course, the more the information comes out and you start to see things, and then you see Blake's behavior quite frequent now. I'm seeing, and I'm watching content on Baldoni, even just naturally before he was in the spotlight, the things he's doing. I'm thinking this guy seems really genuine. Like, he seems a nice guy. And then I'm saying loosely, facts loosely, because people keep reporting it like it's fact, and I don't know the facts. I've not read. Again, it's for us to educate ourselves. If someone says, like the court documents, this, and and then you're learning about it, it's like maybe you need to read. If you really want to know the facts, you need to get hold of the documents yourself and read them, don't you? Surely, before you come to assumptions. But based on the information that I've seen today, it's now seeming like Ryan Reynolds is very controlling. He gets very jealous, and that's probably that's what I'm seeing. That's that he perhaps had a huge hand in this, and he's the one that actually expected to exert control on Baldoni and stop him being in the spotlight and diminish his career. Some people get like this. That's what it's looking like. I'm not saying it's fact because how the hell do I know? I'm just seeing what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing, So now Baldoni for me just seems like a genuine guy. And based on what I'm seeing with the video content I've seen, I can't see him being this bad person at all. So then it just comes, to me personally, I think he's innocent. And then I think it just comes down to the power dynamic between the relationship between Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Like, are they both as bad as each other? Is he a very controlling husband, partner? And he has a lot of influence in the movie industry. Does he not like other people in the spotlight? Is he insecure about his relationship? Because apparently that relationship come from both of them being with other partners. And I don't know if they met on a movie, but anyway, I think they did. I think it was it Green Arrow or something? I don't really know. And then that's how their relationships. Sometimes you would say if someone's cheated or they've met in a bad circumstances, that means that could potentially happen again. Look, I'm not here to talk about people's relationships and things, but the point is, we all have an opinion and it can change. So we have an opinion at the beginning of a situation, more information comes out, we gain another opinion until the facts are shown clearly and deliberately. You can only fall. It's opinion, isn't it? So this situation with this helicopter and the plane, it's like all at the moment, for the most part, it's opinion. We've only got one angle, at least most part that I've seen, is one video recording of this situation that was from a distance, and it's because of how I wrote about this in one of my books. I can't remember which one. Might have been Inspire Your Mind to Enlighten Your Soul. If we just get them up. So these are my books. You got all about like personal growth, healing. One's a spiritual book, but I think Inspire Your Mind to Enlighten Your Soul. I did talk about culture and society, and I touched briefly on American politics a little bit. And I was making the point that because people have a lack of faith and trust in the government, it makes them question things. So any narrative that gets formed and is official, people don't really trust. So that inspires an awful lot of conspiracy theories. But when there's conspiracy theories, again, like I say, you have to have an open mind yourself and form your own narrative based on all the information. You know, don't just listen to one person and think, oh, I like this content creator, but the content creator might be talking crap. That content creator may be just regurgitating something they've seen from and heard from someone else. And they do this pattern of nonsense. Um, so always think for yourself and come up and form your own opinion. You know, it doesn't have to fit with what everyone's saying. We're not sheep. So I take information from wide sources, and then I'm a very analytical person. If I don't trust something, I don't listen. For starters, and I keep an open mind. You know, I'm not so rigid that, like I said about the Baldoni situation, I'm not so rigid that I'd say, well, no, I'm not changing my mind. That's naive. That's just stupid. That doesn't make sense. We should always be looking to open our mind and always be willing to change our mind, change our opinion on things. Otherwise, it's just arrogance. It just doesn't make that. How can arrogance serve the truth? It doesn't. That doesn't make sense to me. But like I say, you've got too many people reporting as though they're reporters, and it's just crap. In all honesty, I just look and think this is crazy. Like you get them. Everyone wants to be in the spotlight. Everyone wants 1 million followers. Everyone wants to make a living. But you've got to be very careful when you report news. Be very careful if you're an independent person because you can get sued for defamation. That's an important thing. Defamation comes about by smearing someone's image. So it's actually can have a financial and personal impact on their life based on misinformation. So you'll be very careful when you give out misinformation. And that's why some people make a statement at the beginning. This is my opinion. It's not fact. That's really important. You do make that the difference there. But it's not defamation if it's true. That's the part. So some people may strong arm and try to scare people from telling the truth. But if you're telling the truth and you have evidence of such, then it's not defamation. So, you know, someone could try to sue you based on it. And if you can prove that it's true, then they can't do anything about it. You know, my answer to that is don't be an arsehole. You know, if you're going to do corrupt shit, people are going to call you out on that corrupt shit, aren't they? But you know, everyone is held accountable. So if you report on something, you're held accountable. If you did something, you're going to be held accountable. It's the world we live in. But it's up to us to educate ourselves and get as much information as possible and not just blindly follow narratives because it can be dangerous and misleading. You know, like I said, this plane, the situation with the plane is very fresh. We just don't have all the facts and information yet. I think a lot of people, including myself, is going to be very skeptical of the information that comes out anyway, because how much of it has been doctrined and altered to fit a narrative that can happen. Again, America is just as corrupt as all these other countries. You know, I have no doubt about that. Potentially even more, because they found a way to manipulate information and make so many people believe. I find it quite frightening in that sense. You know, they're very propaganda at all comes from the USA, and they're great at it. I think there was something like while I'm talking now. I think Trump's recently said he's releasing, declassifying the a lot of like conspiracy things like JFK's assassination and things. And then some stuff was coming to light there, where apparently this is what I understand. Again, might be wrong. It said the CIA was looking to do targeted attacks in specific places, even though it was going to hurt a lot of civilians, like kill people. they felt it was a justifiable action to try to. I think they were going to try and overtake Cuba or something. They were trying to make a reason to go to war with Cuba or something like that. And there was an order that they wanted, but apparently JFK. This is what I'm understanding so far. I mean, I may be wrong. At least, again, how much is fact? And it said that JFK refused to enact it, and that's what led to his assassination because he wouldn't do what they want. And sometimes it comes down to the fact it's not just necessarily that they do what they won't do what they're told. Sometimes it's the fact that now you know too much information. That's the part I think is where they get in trouble. The fact that someone went to him with the information to do so. When you say no, now that puts that person in a very vulnerable situation where you know their plan, and now you know too much. Potentially, of course, it could either be that, or you're trying to replace him with someone that will say yes. Um, but no one's safe in America from their own government, which is crazy, isn't it? Because you literally could be an innocent person doing an innocent thing, and America's got some sort of grand plan to instigate some anarchy, to subvert a conversation and to their own gain. And you could just be an innocent person that's very random, maybe one in a trillion odds of it happening to you. Unfortunately, you're the one. You know, in that wild, wrong place, wrong time at that exact moment. Unfortunately, you was just a statistic. And to be honest, what feeds more into this conspiracy thing with the plane? For me, straight away, I'm thinking, I'm sure it's got something. I bet it's got something to do with Trump. Now, this is opinion. Because he was having a lot of pressure on him, people not trusting him at the moment. There's a lot of food shortages at the minute. The food prices are crazy in America, especially eggs. You've got a lot of families getting ripped apart as they do this immigration thing where they're just removing people, talking about annexing countries and sovereign states, all sorts of stuff. He's just a bit unhinged, and he looks like Hitler at the moment, which is crazy. So then all of a sudden you get this plane crash. You think, well, that's going to change the narrative. In the same way, I can't remember what happened now, but you had the wildfires in California, which was talking some very conspiracy things related to that. And then the narrative changed with the politics and things, and it was like the food shortage. There's all these little things that just keep changing narratives. When you sometimes it's worth looking at that. Like, what was the conversation before that happened? And then think, that's very. The timing of that seems quite. You couldn't make it up. It's very convenient. But that's why I just find the politics are quite crazy, really, because some of the things that like Trump's saying, it seems absolutely wild. So when this situation happened with the plane, rather than have any sympathy, he doesn't seem to have sympathy for people. If you actually look at the way he talks and the things he talks about, he doesn't care about people. There's a lot of people that seem to think, oh, Trump's got a best interest. You like to think so, but when I listen to him, I don't think he has a lot of compassion or empathy for people themselves. He's very self-obsessed. He wants to be a martyr. This is my opinion. And he doesn't care about collateral damage. When he spoke, because I say this because I saw him talk about the situation in Israel with Gaza, he didn't actually care about the people when he was talking. He had no compassion at all. All he was talking about, it's a bit like with his hotels and things. He only spoke about the infrastructure. We might be able to invest in Gaza. We may be able to help put some buildings in there. And we're looking to get people, move people to Jordan, I think it was, get Jordan to take some, get Egypt to take some people in, yeah. So effectively, the way he was just talking, there was no compassion for lives lost or the fact that people will get removed from their own homes, where they come from. He was literally talking about like ethnic cleansing, really, in a subversive way. And I thought straight away, alarm bells ringing. Like, this is crazy. He's happy just to get people, remove them to other countries. Now we've got this. We can create like a property empire in Israel. That's how it sounded to me. I thought this guy's wild. And then straight away, like when the situation with the plane thing happened, he didn't talk about that, the lives lost. He just started pointing accusations at other leaders like Obama, Biden, and some other shit. Now, I'm not up with all the politics, but it just seemed like really insensitive. I don't think any of the other presidents would have gone into that sort of politics mode. I think they would have been talking about the situations unfolding at the moment, tried to provide an update on what they know. He didn't have a clue what was going on. He was talking about he was talking from the outside like he's just a normal person who's a businessman. saying hopefully we hear from information soon, but the news that's coming out on the TV at the moment isn't good. You're thinking, what? Surely you've got freaking advisors. But then that suggests either he's not interested and don't listen, or he's just holding back information just because he's got a political agenda where he just does his nonsense. Or it does raise the question, are people updating him or are they keeping him out of the loop? Is there like a, because this is the other thing, other people in power, they want to cling to power. Whether the power, whether it extends to the rank of presidency is another thing. That there could easily be like a coup going on without anyone knowing, and people maybe politics is dangerous, so there could be literally things in Congress and all sorts in motion to try to displace Trump anyway. Just won't know about it until they hit him with it. So if you start to see the presidents out of the loop, you say that's a warning sign, isn't it? And again, this is just my opinion. I ain't got a clue. I'm not watching. I'm not that deep into it. But at least I can explain that. I'm just talking from the outside, analysing information, the things I hear, and when it's directly from the person's mouth themselves. The things I just said about Trump was based on my interpretation of what I'm hearing him say out of his own mouth. Another thing I've seen, he gets questioned a lot by reporters, and they're genuine questions, and I'm listening, thinking that's a good question. And do you know what he says? That's a stupid question to ask. What a ridiculous question. You're thinking, my God, man, if you're not kissing his ass, he don't want to hear it. And then he tries to make it seem like people are corrupt. And it was a genuine question about something. I can't remember what it was now. It's worth listening to all of his rants and just listen. Don't always listen to his shit. Listen to the question someone asks and think, is that a genuine question? And is that something you'd like an answer to? And you think, yeah. And then you listen to him answer and you're like, it's like dealing with a toddler. It's like, this guy's unhinged. Now, I can understand why people gravitate to him because if there was no him, the politics is boring, but it's also it's corrupt in its own way. So he does destabilize things, and I think he does churn up a lot of anxiety in people. But it makes people question things, which is good in its sense. But as a leader, though, it's dangerous as shit. So politics across the board in any country, it needs to be more transparent. Politicians need to be the voice of the people. And they need to serve the people. And I mean, at the moment, politics around the world is corrupt. I think pretty much every nation. I don't think any nation is safe from it. Not saying that as a fact again, because there might be some good nations, but I would suggest the majority of the nations in this world are corrupt. And too many people just blindly just go with whatever the hell, because, what can you do sometimes? But I think when people start opening their minds and opening their mouths, it's a good thing. But yeah. Question things, think for yourself, and don't just follow everything everyone says. Build your own narrative. That's what I'd say. So don't always just trust these social media influencers because some of them are absolutely crap.